think we've got a group of potential grantees, interested people to join us this afternoon. Welcome, everybody. My name is Jennifer Plick. I am the Associate Director of Grant Programs here at ArtsWestchester. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon to talk all about arts access support for organizations for 2026. I'm sure everybody saw our email and was like, what is happening? What are we doing for this year? So this is to kind of give everybody the brief rundown of what we have decided to do based on feedback from all of you, and also our own internal what makes sense for us to do and for all of you. So trying to really take everybody's feedback and concerns and questions, and really trying to address that with this year's sort of revised county-funded grant program. We get a few more people coming on in. As I mentioned just before, as people are starting to come in, normally it is myself and Susan Abbott, who is the director of the grant programs. Normally the two of us would be tag teaming with this, but Sue is out of the office this week, enjoying well-deserved spring break. So I am here doing multiple things, trying to get everybody in, and we'll be running the info session for our bit this afternoon. So it will probably take me just a few moments to make sure we get as many people in as I possibly can before we dive in with the Arts Access info session. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at the guidelines and the application online as of yet? I hope. If you have not, please, we highly encourage you to take a look, review everything. Again, obviously, we'll be going through a lot of the basic outline of details this afternoon, but again, take a look at that application. For some, it may look a little familiar. If your organization has done the NISCA Support for Organizations application, we really use that as our guideline for this year, for this revision. So it does kind of follow the general flow, the general format of that application process. It's not NISCA, this is county funding. We're just using that as kind of our sort of model as we look to sort of revise and accomplish a few things here to hopefully make things simpler for everyone across the board. Let's see what we've got here. I'm just looking at my list if there's anybody else coming on in. For the moment, I think we are okay, and I'm going to get started with my screen share. At some point, probably maybe towards the end of the presentation, if there are a few questions, we probably can do that. We are, again, as I mentioned, a very large group this afternoon, so we may not be able to get to all questions. You can always email us, and also we will have scheduled a group office hour session next Thursday, I believe, at 1 o'clock, also on Zoom. So as you look at everything, you can come up with a question or two, sign up for that, and join that office hour sort of question period. I will ask everyone to please have themselves on mute, just so we don't get any of the background noise as we're going through our presentation, and just so everybody can hear everything along the way. Do one more check. See if there's anybody in our waiting room before we dive into our presentation for this afternoon. So I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Hopefully this will work. Okay, does everybody see that screen? I'm going to try to go through our slideshow. All right. So welcome to our info session for the 2026 Arts Access Support for Organizations. Just a really quick bit about Arts Westchester. If you are new to Arts Westchester, just finding out about this for the first time, Arts Westchester's mission is to create an equitable, vibrant, and sustainable Westchester County in which the arts are integral to life and integrated into every facet of life. I won't read the entire thing, but Arts Westchester really does seek to have arts at the forefront of all of our daily lives here in the county. What does Arts Westchester do? Besides grants, we do a whole lot of things at our building in downtown White Plains. And if you have not been to us, please feel free to stop by. We actually do have an exhibition space. So we do have public programs, exhibitions, and our two-story gallery space. We also do provide some marketing and communication efforts for organizations and individual artists through our digital publications of Arts News. Obviously, grant making is our one of our big programs, but also we do have public programs, folk art events, public art. We have arts education initiatives, which encompasses our ArtsMobile. Some of you may have had ArtsMobile come to your organization or to a program. Again, that's our mobile art facility, essentially bringing art wherever it needs to go within the county and sometimes even beyond. We have arts residencies helping mental health organizations as well with arts. We do offer professional development, some technical assistance, and also advocacy, really trying to make the arts and culture really more in the forefront, both locally, county, statewide, for funding and support for all of that. And we always do. We are very lucky to be here in New York State, where we do have really strong support for the arts from both our local, county, state, and national representatives. So we always thank them for their continued support of that. Arts Westchester, for the grants department, we do have several funding categories and grants. In general, we award over $2 million in grant funding annually. So over our 60-year history, it's been more than $35 million that we have granted out to both artists and individual organizations in the area. And our current grant opportunities include Arts Alive, which is our NISCA funded re-grant program for Westchester and Rockland County. That is the one opportunity where we do cross the river and help to support artists and organizations in Rockland County. Our new ArtsAccess support for organizations, and the Arts Challenge, which is a non-competitive, essentially sort of a fundraising match program that we have.
This meeting is being recorded.
So the big question for everybody today is, what is ArtsAccess support? ArtsAccess support for organizations is a new grant that actually combines 5 previous categories of county-funded grants: the basic program support, project support, Arts for People with Special Needs organizations, and the Yonkers and Mount Vernon Arts Initiative into one cohesive funding opportunities. With those 5 completely separate programs, essentially doing almost the same thing, it really became, I think, more necessary for us to really sort of look at holistically how we are doing this, what we are funding, also your feedback from the field. Having to do these, sometimes some of you do multiple grants, kind of always do somewhat around the same time, really does become really laborious. So we really have taken that feedback and really tried to think about how can we make this easier, more streamlined for everyone across the board, and also allow you a little bit more flexibility with the funding that could be available to organizations. And it is intended to support arts and cultural organizations and historic sites, so museums in Westchester County that offer programs and services throughout most of the year. It is an open and competitive grant, so all eligible applications that are submitted will be reviewed by an independent panel, and we will get into that process a little bit as we move on with the presentation. And again, Arts Access support for organizations. This funding is made possible with funds from Westchester County government, from the County Executive Ken Jenkins, and the Westchester County Board of Legislators. Okay, so questions of eligibility. This, for the most part, has not changed from all of you that have previously done project support, the arts initiatives, basic program support. The eligibility requirements are essentially the same. We have not sort of really changed that in any way. This is for organizations. Organizations must be a nonprofit based in Westchester County. So again, this is for Westchester County taxpayer funds. It is for Westchester County-based organizations. The organization must also have a mission statement that clearly articulates the arts or local history as its primary objective of the organization, both programmatically and operationally. So again, your core focus is arts or local history. That is what your organization does. Also, the organization should have a governing board that meets regularly and operates under a set of bylaws with at least 1/3 of board members residing in Westchester. Again, that just sort of really gives the local Westchester County focus for the organization. Also, organization should have been in operation for at least 3 full seasons and have an annual revenue of at least $25,000 in its most recent fiscal year. Again, however your organization's fiscal year run. Also, provide services or programs during our contracted funding period, which is July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. So again, that's our contract period. And also, just to note, ArtsWestchester does not award arts access funds to municipalities or arms of government, schools, colleges, social service agencies, or organizations that are primarily recreational or therapeutic in their focus. And again, that is pretty much the same. None of that has really changed in any way. So through Arts Access, what can be funded? Again, very similar to what has always been done with most of you who are on the call who have been previous grantees or applicants. Essentially, most of this has really not changed. It could be for a season of programming that you are planning. So again, if you have your season of theater performances, your season of music performances, film series, anything like that. Or if it is an individual program, maybe you're doing a one-day festival or it's like a weekend festival, and that is your core program. So that is the program, individual or season. That's pretty much stays the same. What we are trying to allow for is a little more flexibility in funding allocations that you're requesting. So again, if you're requesting funding, up to 25% of your funding request can be sort of allocated towards staff salary and fringe benefits. These are just a few quick examples. Artist fees, which we always encourage. If you're an organization that does financial aid or scholarships for students, so maybe you're wanting to put a certain percentage of your requested funds towards all of that. So we are really trying to allow you a little bit more flexibility as to where your requesting funds can be directed. So not for one particular thing, unless you're deciding that, but again, giving you the options of where you want to go. And again, if you have not done so, please look at the guidelines. There's a longer detailed list in the guidelines that you can look for some more of the examples of what can be funded through Arts Access. What cannot be funded through Arts Access, again, same as in general what can be funded. This list has really not changed. Activities or programs conducted outside of Westchester County. Some organizations, you may take programs on the road, you may go to different places, which we absolutely encourage and support doing that. But these funds specifically, everything must be done within inside of Westchester County. Also, activities or programs that are not fully open to the public. So if it's a members only event, again, with the exception of school-based education, arts and education programs. So again, everything must be open and accessible to the public. Galas, benefits, your fundraising activities, also development staff. But one that we know everybody's always really trying to find capital expenses or projects. Unfortunately, ArtsWestchester funding, grant funding cannot be used for capital projects. That's not an area that we fund. Also utilities, prize money for awards, purchase of permanent equipment, hospitality, like food, refreshments, anything like that. And again, activities that are primarily like therapeutic. Again, the guidelines have a much more detailed list of sort of the don'ts of this funding. Again, but for those that have more familiarity with the ArtsWestchester grant program, this list has not changed in any real fashion. The big question also, funding levels. Again, with this sort of combining everybody all into one cohesive application, we really tried to look at funding levels and budgets, all of that. So really trying to tailor what requests could be made. So we've come up with 4 tiers based on organizational budget or income. So if you are a larger organization and your annual income from the previous year was $1.5 million or greater, the maximum request that you would be able to put in is 50,000. Tier 2, annual income between 500,000 and 1.4999 million. Maximum request would be $40,000. Or tier 3, between 100,000 and 499,000. Maximum request would be 25,000. And our tier 4, between 25,000, again, that baseline income, and 99,999, your maximum request is 15,000. And again, how you decide to allocate your request funds is entirely up to you as an organization. Again, how you're spreading that out based on the needs and the programs that you are planning to do for the upcoming season that fit within the contract period. Now, one of the bigger questions here is for those organizations that had previously been eligible and had applied under both the Yonkers and Mount Vernon Arts Initiative, which was a separate, again, county-funded initiative just for those communities. For fiscal year 2026, as part of our continued support for the arts in these 2 communities, organizations that previously applied for those initiatives are eligible to apply for funding through the ArtsAccess Support for Organizations grant. And we are making an earmark of approximately 15%, roughly, of the total ArtsAccess grant allocation would be earmarked for eligible organizations in these particular communities. That, of course, is following application submission and panel review. And this is a longstanding commitment based on funds that were allocated by various members of the Board of Legislators from those communities to really support the arts in those communities. So we are trying to really continue with that support for those communities. So again, if you previously applied through the Yonkers and Mount Vernon Arts Initiative, you are an organization that will still be able to do that with this ArtsAccess. So again, everything is just all on this one application here. Okay. If you're an organization that happens to have an application, if you qualified and happen to have an application that is currently under review in 2026 Arts Alive, I know we did a return to NISCA rules this particular year. So those organizations that receive direct NISCA funding or applied directly to NISCA are not eligible to apply for Arts Alive. But if you are an organization that did not apply to NISCA and you have an Arts Alive application that's currently under review, and you are also eligible to apply for Arts Access support, you can certainly do that. However, your Arts Access application must not include the particular project that's outlined in the Arts Alive application. So it must exclude that particular project. Again, so we're not having funds, going to one or two particular, projects. So again, thinking through all of that, if you happen to have one, you want to keep that in mind as you're preparing for this next application. Important information. Application deadline. It's Wednesday, May 6th at 11:59 p.m. It is open. If you have not looked at it yet, please, please, please look at that application, download the guidelines, make sure you have all particular information that is required. Award notifications will be late June of 2026. And again, if funds are awarded, the contract period would be July 1st of 2026 through June 30th of 2027. And how will funding be decided? All eligible applications will be reviewed by an independent panel. So again, it's not Sue and I sitting here. I know Sue likes to say, like with the dartboard, sort of randomly picking different things. There is a long process as to how decisions are actually reached. So review panels are made up of individuals who represent lots of different viewpoints, areas of expertise, ethnicities, and localities independent of ArtsWestchester. So we receive the application, we will review it for eligibility, and then it goes off to a panel, and the panel will use a scoring rubric, and that is kind of outlined in the guidelines. And they will then sort of assess and make comments based on the application and the scoring rubric that is presented. Those scores and that feedback is then given to the grants committee, which is made up of ArtsWestchester board members. The grants committee then will take all of that information and feedback and look at funding levels, all of that, and sort of present an outline to then the general board of ArtsWestchester of funding recommendations, and the board will then sort of make those final decisions. So again, it is a lengthy process, and this kind of gives you more of an outline, just sort of point by point. We do not have an early. One of the things that is a little different with our county funded applications versus our Arts Alive NISCA funded applications, we do not have an early deadline for this. So once you submit your application, that will be it. We will review for eligibility and completeness. It is possible that if there is a question regarding eligibility or something seems to be missing, we may reach out to you just to clarify or to have a conversation before the application goes to the panel process. But in general, once you submit that application, it will then be going through the review process at that point. So again, independent panel will review and score the applications. That information is given to the grants committee. They will make recommendations for funding, and then the board of trustees of ArtsWestchester will make those final funding decisions. Again, applications submitted online via Submittable. You can go to the ArtsWestchester website, the grants page of the website. If you click on that, you will find a very nice, newly redesigned grants page. And if you click on the link to view the application, you will come to this particular window. You need to have a Submittable account in order to access the application. I think most of you probably do have that already or familiar, but those that don't, you would open it up and Submittable will prompt you to set up an account so then you can view the full application. Submittable also allows you to invite collaborators to help you work on the application. So if you're multiple people want to do different sections of it, you can certainly do that. And you will see down here in the lower bottom, this is a little screenshot, what you would see, it says invite collaborators, or sometimes it might say manage collaborators. That is something on your end you would want to do. If you choose to, you could email people, invite them to help you with the application, and they could fill out various parts however you decide to do that. One of the things I will say with this, as we've kind of come across some information and helping people with this, collaborators will not be able to submit the application. The only person that could submit your application is the person who's the account holder. So if I have a Submittable account, I've invited two of my colleagues to sort of help me write the application. They can't submit the application. Only me as the account holder has the authority to do that. So again, that's, I think, just kind of Submittable's check to make sure it doesn't accidentally get submitted. So just note that when you are doing that, if you choose to use collaborators, there's only the account holder that can submit the application. Some other tips and tricks about the application process. And again, most of you have seen this before if you've gone through this process before. We try to get the grant guidelines down to a manageable level. Yes, there's a lot of detail in there, but it really is to your benefit to look through all of those different sections, what is needed, the different uploads, materials, all of that. So look at those and then just reach out to us if you do have any questions. So if there is something that you're not quite clear of, send us an email, give us a call. Sue and I will be happy to just sort of discuss, or if there's something maybe we might need to chew on ourselves, sort of talk through before we can give you a more concrete answer. So take a look at all of that. Start the application early. I cannot stress this enough. Please do not wait until May 6th at 10 p.m. to really start doing your application, or really we never know what computer technology gremlins will get into everything. And if it is right at the deadline and there is an issue, we won't really be able to help you with that. So I can't stress enough. Look at everything, start it early, make sure you have everything, try to get it in. And then also it's less stress and anxiety for yourself as well. So really it's to your benefit not to wait till the last possible minute to do all of this. I know sometimes that's easier said than done, but it's better to start early and get it all in. The applications do have the Save Draft button at the bottom of the application. I would recommend hitting that Save Draft button quite frequently just to make sure that everything is capturing. On occasion, Submittable will kind of time you out. It doesn't give you a countdown, but it seems like you're actually working on things, and then all of a sudden it's not really saving, and then whatever you've been working on disappears because it actually hasn't saved it. It does kind of do an auto save, but sometimes it may not capture things. So if you can, sometimes we do recommend really copying some of those narrative questions, working on it separately in a Word or Google Doc, so you always have a copy of that sort of like draft in process. Also, there will be character counts for various like narrative sections, so you are restricted to I think we tried to up it a little bit, like 750, or maybe the narrative might be 1500. So you are restricted to, character counts for that. So it also keep that in mind. So working on a draft will also help you make sure that you're staying within the limits of that character count. Um, any uploads that you have, your past season programs, performances, music performances, anything like that. So if you are a performance-based organization, video, audio footage versus still images are very highly encouraged. Um, yes, you can have the pictures, and we'd love to see your playbills and brochures. But if you can give the panel some snippets of that video and audio of different programming, that really will help a panel sort of be able to really see and hear what your organization is presenting and what they're doing. Uh, Also, letters of support from the members of the community. So whether it's past participants, families that have attended workshops, your local, civic leaders or anything like that. So those letters of support, really do. The panel does read all of those. They look at those things. So that does help, of getting that outside voice for your application here. And when you are finally done with everything and you've decided this is it, I'm going to hit submit, you would hit submit at the bottom of the screen, and you should see a little sort of like success or your application has been submitted at the top. And then you should also get an email confirmation from Submittable. If you don't see that or you don't get an email confirmation from Submittable, it did not go through. There are times that sometimes a required field may not be, filled in. Maybe you're over something or something just hasn't captured right. So there are times, again, you may have to log out, log back in, try to clear some things out, and then hit submit. But again, make sure that all of that is done and free and clear when you are ready to finally submit your ArtsAccess application. Um, and again, questions, you can just send us an email, give us a call. Sue and I are here to help as much as we can with any questions that you may have. Again, go to the grants page to find the guidelines, the link for the submittable application, all of that here will be available to everybody. And again, May 6th, 11:59 p.m. is the deadline. If you do have other questions in between, again, reach out. We'll be happy to chat with you. And we will be having a group info session next Thursday at 1 p.m. So after you've gone through the guidelines, the application, if there are specific questions, you can come prepared with one or two questions. Or if you just wanted to listen to some of the other questions that other potential applicants might have, you are welcome to jump on that Zoom call. We'll also be trying to schedule at least one, possibly two in-person info sessions in different parts of the county. So again, look for that schedule. That'll be posted to the grants page as well. So with that, I'm going to stop my screen share. Come back to everybody and just say again, ArtsAccess is really trying to make things a little bit easier for everyone, a little more flexible. It will be looking at your organization as a whole, which all of our applications actually did before. Those that had done project support panels were always looking at, again, your organization, all of that. So it really is sort of more of a holistic view of your organization, how you would plan to allocate funds, and then putting your best foot forward again for a panel to review everything. Um, Hopefully that gave everybody a little bit of an idea of what we're going for. If an organization serves Westchester residents but is not based there, are we still eligible? Unfortunately, not. We get this quite a lot. We get organizations that do great work here in Westchester but are from outside of Westchester. Because this is funding that is allocated by Westchester County government, it is Westchester County taxpayer funds. The organization must be based in Westchester County and provide programs and services for Westchester County. So unfortunately, if you were outside of that, it would not be eligible for support with this particular grant. And that was across the board, even previously with all the different various um, uh, grants that we had had before for the county funding. You always had to be in Westchester County. If you are, I think, let me see, somebody had a question about. Okay, Brian, I think how strict is the July 1st? Um, that is pretty strict. So that is our contract. So again, programs and services going forward from July 1st, forward with all of that. So that is unfortunately anything that's happening previously, we can't do sort of retroactive, funding or looking backwards for all of that. If we are applying for scholarship funding, are we able to award scholarships to people outside of Westchester County? I believe, I will go back and check this. It should be for Westchester County residents. That is for, I think in general, what we have. I will double check all of that and get back to you, Misty. So just to make sure. And yes, NISCA grantees are eligible for this. So we've modeled this application on the NISCA Support for Organizations grant outline, but this has nothing to do with NISCA. This is county funding. So NISCA's over here, county's over here. If you apply to NISCA, if you got NISCA funding, fabulous, great for you. Doesn't impact the county funding in any way, shape, or form. So you could apply for county funding for this. So, how do you know if your Arts Access grant is in progress? Um, I'm not sure. Um, oh, okay. Nancy, I think what we can do is I could have a conversation with you. I think either after this, when we
Okay.
finish up, if you have a few moments, if you can
Yeah,
stay
that'd
on
be great.
afterwards, I can talk to you because I think we were trying to connect anyways.
Okay,
Um,
thanks.
Sure. And for Nancy Marin, for Yonkers organizations, does this particular cycle require services are delivered only within Yonkers? Yes. So if you are Yonkers based, if you had kind of gotten that Yonkers focus, yes, it should probably stay within the confines of those municipalities specifically for that. Yeah. Um, but again, highly encourage everybody, look at the application, look at the guidelines, start gathering all your documents. Most of it is all the things that we've always asked for anyways. It's really just how you're presenting the information and maybe allocating the funds. So you're not necessarily doing a strict project budget for those that were in project support. You're not necessarily doing a strict project budget. You're then earmarking funds in either dollar amounts or percentages to equal what you are requesting. So again, we're trying to make this a little easier and a little more flexible for everyone. Uh, Um, Alex, so that is entirely up to you and the organization how you wanted to present everything, um, whether still keeping it all for that or deciding some and some. that is kind of strictly for you and Gabriella and Hofbosselson to really sit down and strategize what makes the most sense, you know, for your organization and all that. And again, we
Okay.
just tell everybody it is going to panel review. So whatever, you know, areas you are specifically, you know, earmarking funds for, um, it will compelling, competitive, you know, sort of
Thank you.
arguments and presenting, you know, all of that, you know, information to a panel. And just a few other sort of, I guess, pearly words of wisdom. Since it is going to a panel, this is always everybody's uh, hard thing to do is to focus your narratives, focus the information that you're presenting to give the panel enough information so they know who your organization is, know what you're about, know the programs that you're doing, but also not to overwhelm a panel too. So there's that fine line between enough and too much information. And again, that's something I think that's why I think working with drafts, and a lot of you have done this before, really kind of helps to really target and focus the information that you're presenting that a panel will have to read because they do have multiple other applications that they will have to read through. And again, there is a supplemental upload too. So if you do need some more space for some of that narrative information, there can be some more information that can be put, you know, in that supplemental uploads. Um, so that's any other information or questions? Does it cover artist fees? Yes. So there is within the application, there is a checkbox. If you wanted to allocate some funding for artist fees, you could certainly do that. And then within the template, you would just have to note how much of that funding and percentage wise would be allocated towards artist fees. So that will always be the case for all of this. Um, okay. For those organizations that is not strictly arts and culture focused, we could certainly set up another time to talk outside of this info session, but really with our county funded grants, the primary focus is for those organizations who really do have arts, culture, and local history as their primary objective in the forefront of their mission and their programming, all of that for that. There might be other opportunities for our Arts Alive for those that maybe aren't exactly completely 100% arts focused. The Arts Alive might be a fit. Unfortunately, for 2026, that application cycle has closed. We'll be doing 27. I don't know dates on that as of yet. But again, if you have further questions about that, send us an email. We can try to, you know, schedule a phone call or a Zoom or jump on our group office hour session, and we can sort of give you a little bit more background on that. So, okay. Okay, and Joanne, I think what maybe you can do is if you could email us at the grants at artswestchester.org. Maybe I can try to answer some of those questions, or we can set up a time to talk separately with some of that. So, okay. So again, anybody else that has any other questions, give a shout, give a holler, and join us on next Thursday, April 9th at 1 p.m. for more specific office hour questions that you may have. Does anybody have any other? I'm trying to look at some of the questions that are in our chat. Oh, so if you're gonna collaborate, okay, so Daphne, so we can maybe chat a little bit too to see what the plan is for different things. Or Delphine, no, sorry, Delphine, sorry. I'm looking at Daphne and I'm looking at a name. So again, check in with us. Good luck to everybody. May 6th, 11:59 p.m. Don't wait until 11:58, please. Um, And hopefully we've gotten everybody most of our outline. Take a look and have a good rest of your day. And Nancy from the Pelham Arts Center, if you wanted to stay
Yep,
on for a little
that'd be
bit, I can
great.
maybe have a little chat
Okay.
with you afterwards. Okay, I'm going to stop my recording. Have a great day, everybody.